And get the poll question going and the poll question going. Poll question going. All right. You are going to need note-taking materials for today's live. We're going to be going at a rapid pace. I got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Yes, indeedy. You are going to need a secondary device to follow along with the 74 Principles of Real Leadership. We are coming around third. Therefore, you will need to go to theturnarounddoctor.com. 74 Principles of Real Leadership. We are wrapping up the natural section today, and it is listen. Without further ado, go ahead and breathe with me. 3 deep breaths. This is going to drive my OCD crazy. This minor little adjustment. Okay, 3 deep breaths in and out. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today's topic is listen, listen, listen. You're going to have to listen today. Answer the poll question and listen to me for today. Okay, anyway, how we got here? Neurogenesis, that's the creation of new neurons in your amazing brain. And they then do a dance together. It's called synapse, and they take you from one point A to point B. Good morning, Regina. And that's called neuroplasticity. That's your brain's ability to wire itself to be able to make it do what it do, baby. Okay? And then you combine that with these amazing, awesome 74 principles of real leadership, as well as that theory of personal accountability, and you land at an amazing place in the galaxy, neuropability. That's your brain's ability to wire itself every single day to unlimited neural pathways so that you can become a bad mofo just like me. Yes. And how does all of this happen? This magic happens in the prefrontal cortex, the frontal lobe, and specifically the executive function, which is also known as the CEO of the brain. Without further ado, tell your brain, hey, brain, I'm about to use you today. I'm about to use you. Why? Use it or lose it. Okay? So listen, one of the 74 principles of real leadership is actually the 74th principle and the 75th because it's there twice, because we have 2 ears, so we can listen more than we talk. But why is listen there? Listen is there because I was a terrible, horrible, awful listener. I never listened. I was waiting on you to talk. It was a debate. I'm going back and forth with you. I'm waiting to jump in. I'm not going to listen to you. And then my first sergeant and my company commander in Korea told me about all of my inability to take in information, process it, and then respond instead of react. So that is why this is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. In addition to that, Jerry Lynn Hello Whiskey, one of my employees, not the best employee, good morning, but she did tell me when I was doing one-with-ones with her one day, she said, you don't listen. We come in here, your back is to the door, we're trying to talk to you, and you just hurry us along, and you're not paying attention to us. I said, oh, well, that hurt. Yeah, so that's the other reason why. Because even in 2005-06 time frame, after they told me in 1996, I still had some work to do. So that is why this is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, because I know I'm not alone. I know there are a bunch of terrible listeners out there, but we're going to help each other this morning. All right. So I have gone over the 74 principles of real leadership in a summation. If you'd like to see that, go to the 74 principles of real leadership playlist on my YouTube channel. Start from the bottom, scroll all the way up, and listen, look, and learn. Today we are at listen. We are closing out the end, and real leaders wear pink. We are coming around third. We will be, that's great, Raven. We will be finishing up the 74 principles of real leadership next week. I believe we have 9 left with 2 Wired Wednesdays. That should put us around next Friday, Saturday time frame. And then we'll be finished and we will be back to studying the brain completely. After I went over an overview of the 74 principles of real leadership, step 2 was going over each individual principle of real leadership to the point where I'm defining every word so that you will have a total understanding. So when you are implementing them using your neuropability, you will know exactly why you are using them and how to use them so that you can wire your brain for you to become your best. Now, with all that being said, listen. What is the top view of listen? It is this. The top definition. It is this. Listen. It means to give attention with the ear in order to hear something. Give attention. So that's the most important part. You have to give your attention to what is coming towards you auditorially. So that means if you're listening to it, whether it's online or the radio or podcast, whatever it is, you have to have your attention there, focused on it. So it often implies an intentional act of focusing on sounds or spoken words. It's attention and it's intentional. It's attention and intentional. If you don't have those, then you're not going to listen. You might hear it, but you are not comprehending it. You're not going to process it. The deeper meaning of listen is to pay attention, consider, or be receptive to ideas, advice, feelings, or needs. Now, this is the part where everybody gets in trouble because you can listen to your favorite song, you can listen to the radio, you might even listen to a podcast or something else. But this bad boy right here, this deeper meaning, to pay attention, to consider, or be receptive, give it to me, let me receive it. Ideas, advice, feelings, or needs. This is why people end up in family counseling and divorce court and everywhere else, because people are not listening. One of the top reasons for getting a divorce is irreconcilable differences, which means there is a breakdown in communication, which means one or both people ain't doing what? Listening to the other person's feelings, needs, ideas, desires, concepts, advice. That is the problem. That's what's wrong. I heard you, but I didn't listen to you. How many times has someone said something to you, giving you wise counsel, and you didn't listen? And then you FO'd and found out, man, if only I'd listened. Your gut brain is sending 400 messages to your head brain a day. It's a one-way transmission. And if you do not listen to your gut, you're going to find yourself in situations that's mucked up. That's what's going to happen, okay? That is what is going to take place. So you have to pay attention with intentional listening skills. You want to be receptive to the ideas, the advice, the feelings, or needs of others, okay? And it has to be reciprocal. It cannot be this, I'm not listening to you, you're not listening to me, or I only listen, or I only talk and you better listen to me. It has to be reciprocal. So here are some nuances of listening. Active attention. It implies focus and intent, not just passive hearing. So you got to focus. Stay focused is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. You have to focus. Number 2, respect and empathy. Who knew respect and empathy were a part of listening? Right? Okay. Treat people with dignity and respect, though, is one of the 74 principles of real leadership as well. So respect and empathy. In conversations, it can mean showing respect and understanding for the other person. And empathy is not, I don't agree with you, so I'm not going to listen to you. Empathy means I have to say, if I were in this person's shoes, let me understand from their perspective. That is empathy. I can empathize with you while you're having this experience, good, bad, right, wrong, or indifference. And that is what empathy is. I understand from the perspective in which you're presenting this information. So number 1 is active attention, and these are the nuances of listening. Number 2 is respect and empathy. And number 3 is obedience or compliance. So sometimes it's used to follow instructions or comply. And examples of that are in the military for safety reasons and parenting. You are instructing someone to do something so that they will be in compliance. As a zone operations manager, there were a lot of outside third-party entities, DOT, OSHA, Food Security, Intech, AIB, that came in, and if we did not listen, things got shut down. And that would be no bueno, especially if you're in manufacturing. You can't have that line shutting down for anything. If you are giving your children, you're telling them these things and they're not listening, then they're going to go off and do something, and it's not going to bode well for them or for you as their parents. So that's the obedience and the compliance when it comes to safety and making sure that you stay out of jail, right? Okay, so why is it challenging for people to listen? And I posed that question to you this morning. Why do you believe that it is challenging for people to listen? Where are we at? Thank you, Regina, for typing that. I'm putting this in the playlist. Save to the playlist. All right. Kevin said they're easily distracted or they think they know it all. They are easily distracted or they think they know it all. Dr. Donna said because people like to talk more than they like to listen. People like to talk more than they like to listen. And then Regina said, sometimes if someone is repeating the same old topic and complaining, I find it draining and annoying to listen to. It's an honest answer. Okay. All right. And then Nola, if you are typing, remember ... so that I know that you are responding before I move on. So what I have started doing is watching the live myself, and that allows me to have more understanding of the time lapse for you all. So I'm making it my point to stop saying, y'all there? Y'all there? Answer me. So I am using my tablet to respond, so I will know if the chat has been enabled to take some of the pressure off because I can't see you all. You didn't hear the question. Why is it challenging for people to listen? Exhibit A. Why is it challenging for people to listen? And it's actually interesting seeing me here versus the 5 to 7 second delay on my tablet. I'm in an alternate universe. So then I'll be looking at me and I've already done the motion. This is scary. No, it's not. I'm good over here. And we see me with the many forms of listening. That was my objective this morning, is that person right there, the fourth one down. She like, the fuck it, that's Regina saying, you saying this dumb shit again? This one. All right. Shoot, I have a lot of problems listening, getting distracted like right now. Exactly. And that's what I said, Exhibit A. Okay, thank you for your answers. Here we go. Why is it challenging for people to listen? The number one answer, internal distractions. Internal distractions. So self-talk. People are often preoccupied with their own thoughts, worries, or what they're going to say next. People are often preoccupied with their own thoughts, worries, or what they're going to say next. Remember, you have over 90,000 thoughts a day. I apologize. You have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. 95% of those thoughts are of yesterday, and more than 80% of those thoughts are negative. Thank you, negativity bias. So you're not even present. 95% of what you're thinking was from yesterday, from the yesterday, for something that has already happened. So to be present, be where your feet are in the now, that's not even naturally occurring. This is why you need this new neural pathway of listen. And if it's there, you're going to make it stronger and strengthen it so that you stay focused on listening to what people are saying, even when you have perimenopausal brain. Okay, number 2 is ego. Here goes that doggone ego again, edging grayed out. A desire to appear smart, right, or in control can override the willingness to truly hear someone else. A desire to appear smart, right, or in control can override the willingness to truly hear someone else. And we know that ego is attached to unaccountable people, aka losers, big ego, low confidence, and low self-esteem. And that's all so that they can stay in their comfort zone. They can stay in their conformity, confirmation biases, the isms, and the other biases, so they don't have to learn, grow. And the doggone atrophied working memory will also contribute to that, so they're not going to listen. If they learned something in 1972 and we're in 2025, they are not going to listen because that working memory been unemployed and it's just like stuck. So it's not going to work unless they become a person that wants to become personally accountable, and then they will open their brain up, get access to their frontal lobe again, and begin to learn how to listen and get rid of the ego. And that's so the two types of internal distractions are self-talk and ego. Now, number two, the external distractions. And the first one is environment. So noisy sounds, noisy surroundings, phones, or multitasking, I refer to it as task jumping, can prevent focused listening. So if you are somewhere, it's a lot of noise, you're at the club, yeah, baby, how you doing? My name Larry, Sagittarius. But it's like, you're not gonna hear that Larry is a Sagittarius. So phones, everybody's on their phones now. Everybody's on their phones, or people are attempting to task jump and do a bunch of things all the time because of the amount of things that you have to get accomplished in any given day. And what I'd like to say is I saw someone on Threads saying that, our phones are addictive, and it didn't used to be like that. It's amazing what happens to the memory when new things come in, because we were distracted back in the day. And guess what we were distracted with? Pagers. We were distracted with disc players. We were distracted with headphones. We were distracted with the headphones with the radio on it. We were distracted with the big boombox radios. We were distracted with the transistor radios. We were always distracted with something else. It just seems like now, because there's a new thing, that old thing was not distracting. Kids still didn't pay attention. Good morning, Sabrina. Yes, with the Walkman. I was on the bus. We was trading CDs. Everybody's listening to their own song. And then it was music. It was albums we were distracted with. So we have consistently been distracted. Back on doggone Queen Charlotte, they had needlepoint and all these other things. So the distractions have always been there because of that nice little dopamine manufactured boost that we want. So it isn't because we have phones. We consistently have had something else in our hands over time, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So the external distractions are the environments. The other external distraction is overstimulation. So in a fast-paced world with constant input, attention spans are often shortened. And I have mentioned that the attention span used to be much longer. Now it's 8 to 15 seconds because of short format videos, which is why I recommend reading nonfiction 15 minutes or more a day to get your brain the endurance to pay attention. So in order for you to build endurance to pay attention, you have to do something every day to pay attention, because currently your day is designed to hurry up and get it through. Come on, fast forward. This is moving too slow. It's moving too slow. And I need it right now. Give it to me now. So the external distractions are the environment and overstimulation. Number three are emotional triggers. So defensiveness. If the topic touches on a sensitive area, people may shut down or prepare a rebuttal instead of listening. So if we are talking about something and your amygdala gets hijacked, then now you are doing fight, flight, freeze, or appease. You're no longer listening to what I'm saying because of a trigger that has taken place. So that emotional trigger, you're not listening anymore. Shut down access to your frontal lobe, and now you are ready to eliminate this threat or this perceived threat. And then the second factor in emotional triggers is judgment. So prejudging the speaker or the message can cause someone to tune out or selectively hear. Prejudging the speaker or the message can cause someone to tune out or selectively hear. Some of you were on the live when the gentleman came. I was talking about embrace diversity, and the first thing out of that person's mouth, even though they felt like they weren't a gentleman, but based upon what they said, I knew they were a gentleman. And we're going to use that term loosely because we treat people with dignity and respect. The point is this. They say, here we go with this, what is it? What the hell is it? Critical race theory and feminist BS is what the person said. Because they came in, somatic markers, you see African-American woman, you see that her would potentially perceive to be talking about DEI, and now here you go with your knee-jerk reaction. And at Frito-Lay, we learned slow the knee-jerk. The person ended up staying on the live longer to change their whole opinion because their prejudgment, their confirmation bias and their conformity bias, their beauty bias, and their feminist sexist ways decided that I must be this woman. I'm Gloria Steinem in 2.0. talking about, hey, burn your bras. And that's not even what I was talking about. And if you even had read the room, I had a brain t-shirt on, the brain background on that day. So there's no way that you could have, if you had taken the time to observe, you would have known that that is not, in fact, what I was talking about. But he did not give me the benefit of the doubt or time, just decided this is what this must be. And he was 1000% On a scale of 1 to 2, absolutely incorrect. Number 4, cognitive overload. Cognitive overload. So it's the complexity of the message. If someone speaks in jargon or convoluted ideas, the listener may struggle to keep up. Yes, the listener may struggle to keep up. So cognitive overload. My objective, and sometimes the brain just be braining, and there are technical terms, and we will get back into that at the end of next week, and you will remember all of these new terms that I too am learning myself. Thank you to all the people who did not water it down for us in a way that is palatable. So I do my best to make it so that you can actually process it, but sometimes the jargon is just so high, or the message from the person, because they're high. It's convoluted and you can't understand what's actually taking place. I do believe that I have a 60-second strategy that says stop doing all this technical jargon in meetings and in emails and just keep it simple like math. Bring it down to the smallest common denominator so people can actually process it. But it goes back to number 2, and internal distractions. So the ego is in the way. I want to show you how smart I am. And that's what I'm finding when I'm following and looking at podcasts with neuroscientists and all the people who are brain experts. They want to sound smart, and they want to put these 15 syllable words out there so that only the people in their industry can understand them. But we all have a brain, so we all should be able to listen to this very complicated. I take things that are complicated all day long and simplify them for you to be able to get it, because that's what educators do. So the cognitive overload, the complexity of the message may have you having glazed over eyes or deer in the headlight. And additionally, under the cognitive overload, fatigue or stress. So fatigue or stress. A tired or mentally overwhelmed person is less capable of deep listening. So if your brain is exhausted because you have been going above and beyond for a group of unaccountable people, you will not have the mental capacity to process any new information. It won't happen. So when people say, "Oh, this is too much, Dr. Donna, I can't do this." It is cognitive overload initially. And if you experience that, you have to ask yourself, what's stopping me from being able to process this information? Is it too complex, or is it something else happening that I can't actually process what it is that you're saying? Finish challenges, do the work on a daily basis to learn how to hold myself personally accountable. That's something that you have to assess. Sometimes it's just you are actually fatigued. You need to take a nap. You need to take a break. Stress is real. That's why eliminate stress is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. But if it's because this is at a higher level than you're used to learning, now you have to endure that cognitive overload so that you can get to this higher level, so that you can get to your best, which be the best is an additional principle of real leadership. Number 5 is a lack of listening skills. And that's what I had. I'm from the hood, y'all. I'm from the hood. Anyway, I had terrible listening skills because I was raised by someone who also was a terrible listener, and another chatty Cathy in the house. So she wanted to talk, she didn't want to listen, and now we're in this situation where I don't have listening skills. I had to learn them in my early 20s. So a lack of listening skills, untrained attention. So untrained attention. Active listening is a learned skill that many people were never taught it. And then poor empathy. So difficulty understanding others' emotions or perspectives reduces meaningful listening. Now I am going to get into 10 tips for you to be able to listen effectively. So I'm not going to go into that right now. I also have a 60-second listening drill that you will be able to use as well. Good morning, Lola. So this is the top overview of that. So your lack of listening skills is because you are untrained in actually listening. And then you have poor empathy. So your inability to be able to understand other people's feelings or perspectives reduces meaningful listening. So we talked about cubicalized existence, zip code-itis, and your comfort zone. So if you only stay with people that are like you, look like you, think like you, everything else, that is a fixed mindset. And you are not going to be able to listen to what anybody else is saying because it doesn't match your negative narrative. As a result, you won't be able to have empathy for people. If you are someone who comes from an affluent existence, you won't have empathy for someone who had to struggle to make it to $50,000, $100,000 a year. That will seem like pennies on a dollar for you. You're like mere pittance of money. Look at this broke person over here. But if you actually seek first to understand, and then be understood, then you can have a different perspective. The other thing that I would like to say is that people that are less than multimillionaires or millionaires have a different perspective of wealthy people as well, because as my mother used to say, you got plenty of money, so you shouldn't have any problems. And that's not true as well. We are all human, so we still have the same human experience, regardless of how much money that we actually have access to. As I always say, money only solves money problems, and that's it. Steve Jobs died a billionaire, and he died of liver cancer. So it didn't matter that he was a billionaire and he was on 2 different liver transplant lists when it was time for him to go. And Paul Allen, same thing. Billionaires died, and even Carl Munger. It's time to go. It's time to go. Money didn't stop them from not being here anymore. So it's empathy for both sides, whether you are that gender, that ethnicity, that religious preference, or anything else. It's still another human being. So you can listen to understand that person's particular situation. And then finally, number 6, here we go again, cultural or communication styles differences. So we know that it's social, it's people. As soon as you put unaccountable people into the chat, shit's gonna go left, period. So cultural or communication style differences. There are differences in tone, pacing, or body language, and that can make understanding harder, especially in cross-cultural situations. I will say that again. Differences in tone, pacing, or body language can make understanding harder, especially in cross-cultural situations. So there was one point when Nola and I had to go, and I forgot what the project was. I think it might have been putting up bookcases or something for a UNLV student who English clearly was not that person's primary. It was not their primary. Damn, I can't think. Their main way to speak English was not their primary language, and so it was to the point where we were literally pointing and then measuring with the measuring tape in order to get that across. And so that was one of the more challenging appointments that we had, because it was a first language. There you go. Thank you, Regina. Their first language. So it was a barrier, but because of all the body languages and the movements and the pointing and all of that, we were able to get the task completed. So improving listening skills takes awareness, patience, and practice. It takes awareness, patience, and practice. So to review, what's challenging for people to listen? Number 1 is internal distractions, and that includes self-talk as well as ego. Number 2, external distractions, which includes environment and overstimulation. Number 3 is emotional triggers, which includes defensiveness and judgment. Number 4 is cognitive overload, which includes complexity of the message, as well as fatigue or stress. Number 5 is lack of listening skills, because you are untrained, your attention was untrained, you have poor empathy. And then number 6 is cultural or communication style differences. And that's a difference in your tone, body language, and basically the physicality that it takes, as well as improving listening skills takes awareness, patience, and practice. So what questions do you have, thoughts, or anything that resonated with you in addition to your initial answer as to why people find it challenging to listen? Hot flash, sweating out, baby, hot flash. It's getting hot in here. I am having a hot flash. I'm gonna turn my fan on. All right, my brain is 95% song lyrics. All right, Sabrina. Yes, I find if I don't like someone or they have done something that I find unprofessional, I completely tune them out. That is an honest response. And I remember doing something similar in my corporate years, but for me, it's a lack of respect. And if I do not respect you, and I actually put that in my book, I can't. I don't really care what's happening. I'm like, I got to be able to respect you to listen to you. It becomes extremely difficult. I am a work in progress, but if I'm like, yeah, okay. Now you have to prove it that you haven't earned my respect. So if somebody's just saying something in the store in passing or whatever, I'm not like, I ain't listening to you. I don't respect you. It has to be over time. I need 3 data points, and that's a trend. And then I'm like, nope, because respect is earned, not given. Okay. And Regina has said, communicating with someone who is emotionally charged makes it difficult to stay in my frontal lobe when I'm trying to calmly communicate. Yes, someone with a hijacked amygdala is unreasonable and will not be able to hear anything that you are saying. And most of the time, you just have to exit stage left if that is possible. Or like a toddler running around, you just, let them run out of steam and then say, you ready to talk now? Okay. I would love to hear you, but I can't hear the words coming out of your mouth because you're yelling. So your yelling is overpowering your message. And sometimes I have to say that to Nola. Turn the volume down so I can actually listen to what you're saying. All right, let's discuss practical tips for becoming a better listener. And there are 10. Yay. Okay. So 10 tips to become a better listener. And they're broken down into a couple categories. So the first category is mental preparation, and there are 2 tips in that. 10 tips to become a better listener. First category is mental preparation, and there are 2. Number 1, clear your mind before engaging. Clear your mind. That's why we take 3 deep cleansing breaths before we start these lives every day. So take a moment to breathe, pause, and let go of your agenda before entering into a conversation. So take a moment to breathe, pause, and let go of your agenda before entering a conversation. The reason why you want to do that is so that you can be present. If you ever find yourself not being present, look down at your feet and be where your feet are. Your feet are not in the past. Your feet aren't in the future. Your feet are in the present where you currently are. So don't say, yep, I'm about to have this conversation. I'm about to read them like a nursery rhyme. No, let's just seek first to understand and then be understood. And be able to extrapolate whatever information that sender of that information is providing you. And then number 2 is be fully present. As I mentioned, be where your feet are. So be fully present. You're going to ask yourself this. Am I here to understand or just to respond? Am I here to understand or just to respond? Because if you're only waiting for your turn to speak, you're not really listening. If you're only waiting for your turn to speak, you're not listening. You're actually in a debate. That's what you're doing. Okay, yeah. Fuck all that shit you said. Here, this is what I'm about to say. I gotta get some stuff on my chest. This is what I want to do. And now you're not being present. So those 2 things are gonna happen up here in your amazing head, right here in the frontal lobe. That's what you're gonna do. You'll have that conversation with yourself. Breathe, pause, be ready. And then you're gonna say, am I here to understand or am I here to respond? And most of the time it's react. And then now, during the conversation, here's what's going to take place. Number 3, you're going to use the active listening techniques. We talked about them briefly yesterday. I'll review them again here. So active listening techniques are nod or show acknowledgement. Remember I said I used to be like, hurry up. Yep. So it's like, oh, okay, I got it. And then you say things like, I see. Go ahead. Please continue. I'm interested. And now people know that you are listening. Then when people stop or pause, you're going to paraphrase what they said. So what I'm hearing is this. So what you're saying is, if I could put a bow on it, I believe this is what you said. So then you're going to paraphrase what they've said. And then the final one in use active listening techniques is ask clarifying questions. And this is what gets most married people and people in working relationships in trouble. Because If you don't know, ask, or ask questions is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And that's why I say communicate effectively has multiple principles of real leadership underneath it. Ask clarifying questions. Can you say more about that? Can you explain this part? I'm unclear about number 2. Can you say number 2 again? What did you mean by? When you ask that, now everybody is on the same page. I have a 60-second strategy, and it's entitled Apple. And the reason why it is because here's what I want all of you to do that are not driving and safe to do so. Apple. What's the first thought that comes to your mind because I said Apple? Please type it in. Apple. Okay, so Regina said eat a red apple. Kevin said teachers. Noah said the fruit. And Dr. Donna said Lucy Glow. So 3 of us are talking about the fruit. Kevin is talking about the teacher. Now, Nola didn't specify what apple. Regina said red apples. I think there are 30,000 varieties of apples. So that could be Red Delicious or other ones. And then Lucy Glow is my favorite type of apple because it only comes out in October. It's only out for about 6 weeks. And it is the most amazing apple I've ever had in my life. And Regina, you probably would like that one. So if you go to lucyglow.com, it will tell you when the apple is going to be in season in Florida, and then it will tell you what stores you can pick it up at. But it's the best apple ever. I mean, whenever they're in Sprouts, I'm selling the apples for the people in Sprouts. I'm like, they're here. Hey, come get these apples. It's a very short season for them, but they are definitely delicious. Now, we could have been talking about Apple, the computer. And so because of that, if we don't clarify what apple we are talking about, and I'm specifically talking about the Lucy Glow apples, then we all could be thinking about something else. Yeah, they are amazing. They best apple I've ever had in my life. So now I would have to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So take care of your health. And there are all these instances. I need to go get some apples so I can make a homemade apple pie. That is why you ask the clarifying questions, so everybody knows that we are talking about giving Teacher Appreciation Day. So we're going to give teachers an apple. We're talking about red apples, Red Delicious apples. I'm talking about Lucy Glow apples. Nola is just talking about apples in general as a fruit group. Now we all have to be on the same page. And that is what that clarification is for. We all got to be talking about the same thing. So when we leave, we have taken away the message that needs to be taken away. So you need context. And that's what the clarification questions are for. Okay, number 4, listen with your eyes and body. So if Regina is talking to me and I do like this, I've let Regina know I don't want to hear nothing that you're saying. I don't have 0% time. If I do like this, I don't want to hear anything that you're saying. So you want to maintain appropriate eye contact. You don't want to do like this, looking like a doggone crazy person. Somebody that's just like, that's not going to work. So you want to look, yes, blink, maybe look away slightly, come back, maintain eye contact without the deer in the headlights there. And then you want to turn your body. So if I'm like, that's not open body language. I don't want to hear what you're actually saying. And then you want to put away distractions. So if I'm doing this and I'm like, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead. I got it. Yeah, no. I am listening to you. I am. I got it. All right. Hold up. All right. No. Keep talking. Keep talking. I just got to write this one thing down. Hold up. Let me polish my nails. No, that's no bueno. And then you want to get rid of distractions. So you want to give them your undivided attention. Or tell them this is not a good time for me. Let me talk to you in 10 minutes. Let me call you back. Let's set up a different time for a meeting. I just had something take place. And then number 5 is don't interrupt, not even mentally. And that's hard to do because the mind will wander, especially if somebody is not engaging and they're just like Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. It's going to be hard. Monotones and the same message as Regina indicated. Here they go complaining about these badass kids again, as if they can't do something about it. So don't interrupt, not even mentally. So if responses form in your head while they're still talking, gently let it go. If you're like, did I take the meat out the freezer? Dang, I think we need to go to Smith's to get some toilet paper. We just this. You come right back and you focus on them, not your reply. So you go back to, what was I doing? Oh, I was listening to Nola talk. But you're saying it mentally in your head. And now we're off to emotional awareness. So number 6 is manage your reactions. I say responses. So just like I switch out emotional for feelings and I switch out motivation for empowerment, I switch out manage your reactions versus your responses. So in this instance, you might have a reaction. So if something they say triggers an emotional response, stop. Respond, don't react. Sit on your hands, as they say to us in Al-Anon. If something they say triggers an emotion, pause. And we've seen me do this on live. Somebody has said, some imbecile, unaccountable person has shown up and tried to show out. And I always pause because I'm deciding how I'm going to respond. And sometimes my response looks like a reaction, but that pause is for me to have a moment of clarity before I say, do, or take any action. Don't do anything without a strategy, and that will help you manage those trigger responses. Now, if it's something deep-seated PTSD, we've known that it just comes up. What comes up comes out, and then that's why there's the 74 principle of real leadership called apologize when you are wrong, because we are human, and we have had experiences from other unaccountable people that have caused us to be triggered. And so as a result, if the reaction shows up and you have an outburst, go, oh my goodness, where did that come from? I apologize. And you apologize for having that moment. Now you can go off later and assess, well, what made me have that moment? If that person is willing to walk through that moment with you, then by all means, let that conversation go in that direction. And it goes back to, again, don't have an agenda for the interaction. Unless you're in a meeting, then that's different. Okay, and so instead of reacting, label what you feel internally. I'm feeling defensive. And then refocus on listening. So if you have the ability, if the trigger hasn't just made you just lose it and have a hijacked amygdala, say, oh, what about this triggered you? And so when the gentleman on the live said, here's this critical race theory, feminist BS, notice I was still calm, non-dilated pupils, my tone didn't change or anything. And I just instinctively let this person just sit there and find out how wrong that person actually was. And so my feeling was, here I am again being prejudged by something that I'm actually not doing, never have done it. I can't explain what critical race theory is. I do know what feminism is, but that's not what I was doing. And because of that person's conformity bias and confirmation bias, again, those somatic markers, knee-jerk reaction, this must be what's happening. If A plus C is E, then that must be J. See how many letters I skipped? So then I would be, that person was actually wrong. So you say, I'm feeling defensive, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling offended. And then you say, okay, let me hear what else this person has to say. And I have done that on lives where people come with their antics and we see how it's going to play out. And then from there, I'm gathering information to determine if I'm going to go ham on them because they appear to be a heckler. If I know that they're looking for a dopamine boost, am I going to educate people like with Kevin Jones, who came cracking a joke, who does a couple drive-bys every now and then, told him what to do in order for him to be funny, and didn't block him, so he still has access to this channel. Number 7 is practice empathy. We talked about it earlier in the live, and we're back at it again. So in order for you to practice empathy, and this is again under the topic of emotional awareness in the 10 tips. So you had manage your reactions, responses, and now practice empathy. So when you're practicing empathy, you're going to ask, what's it like to be in their shoes right now? What's it like? And in order to do that, you're going to be able to have embraced diversity as one of the 74 principles of real leadership. Because if you don't recognize that this person is different than you, they're diverse, then actual ability to have empathy is still going to keep you in your isms and your biases. And so you'll say, the fuck is over here, because you're still going to be using your own belief systems to judge their systems. I say, okay, I'm gonna act like I got empathy. Okay, so what's wrong? What happened? Oh, let me see. Let me guess. So that's not the same thing as having empathy. So empathy says, I am a 52-year-old African American woman going through perimenopause, and I'm having a hot flash. And so as Nola, we go back and forth with the AC in the car and the house. I said, one day, you're going to put your heaviest jacket on and a skull cap, and we're going to walk outside all day long so that you will understand that this heat is coming from the inside out. It's coming from the inside out, and that's what it feels like. I got on a big old jacket and a skull cap walking around in 100-degree weather. That's what it feels like, because she needs to understand I don't have any control over this. I don't know when they're going to happen or how long they're going to happen, and I'm just seeking cooling as quickly. Just cool me down so I can continue to navigate throughout my day. So having empathy sometimes means on TikTok they put the menstrual cramp things on the men so they could see the level, and now they're like, okay, now go clean up, now go work all day, okay, go to the grocery store, now take care of the kids and everything else. And they're sitting there like, oh my God, don't what the hell. And then they even do it for contractions as well, and they're like, nah, I can't even, I'm good, what you need me to do? So when you can experience it from that person's perspective, then it allows you to hear what they're saying. And it goes back to feeling, listening, understanding. And that's all anybody really wants, is for you to understand from my perspective. And so even if you disagree, strive to understand why they see the world that way. And I do this often. If I disagree, or I'm seeking first to understand why do they see the world in that way, whether it is somebody of a different gender, a different ethnicity, I want to understand their perspective, and I want them to understand my perspective. So I went to church for 26 years. I went to every kind of Baptist, Episcopalian, Presbyterian, Pentecostal, Kojic, Southern Baptist, doggone the mosque. I've been to Catholic services and Jehovah Witnesses. And we even had a Wiccan in one of our privates was Wiccan way back in the day when I was a lieutenant, an executive training officer in a basic training company. So I've experienced a wide variety of different religions. And so when we moved here in December, mega church, storefront church, little bitty tiny church, in the middle church, family church, all of that, I decided that I had outgrown organized religion for myself and for my daughter. Even Nola went for 7 years with my mother, and then she made that same declaration. And so one day I was at the urban chamber, and someone who was a member was a pastor and was telling me to come to their church. And I said, I don't go to church anymore. Then they tried to go down a, you must be a sinner route. I'm like, I'm not a sinner. That's not, we all sinners saved by the grace, but okay, whatevs, man. So he was attempting to try to convince me that I still needed to come back to church, not really listening to my reasoning. I don't do anything without a strategy. And I explained to him my reasoning for not going back to church. And one of my reasons, I have many, but the one that I'll share today is that you don't have levels in church. You are either part of the congregation, or you're part of the choir, or you're part of the leadership staff. And so there is no, and I've done small groups and everything, but you can't measure your savedness or your Christian walk. And so most of the messages, most of everything is catered to the babes in Christ. So if we are saying that advanced is having a doctorate in Jesus and Christianity, then every time I go to church, it's for the elementary school kids. And so I got to keep sitting through elementary school lessons, but I'm Dr. Donna. So I don't go to elementary school. I have a doctorate in education. Now I could teach elementary school. And that was my whole point, is that there isn't a system within organized religion that I've experienced where you can grow spiritually and have that experience in the meetings that are available. So there isn't an advanced. Even when you do vacation Bible study, you can have that, but the sit in the main sanctuary with everybody else, that experience is not there. And so for me, I had years of notes and everything. I was like, yeah, so I'm good. And that's just one of the many reasons. But that pastor was not willing to hear from my perspective, so he didn't empathetically understand what I was saying. And I was saying it because he was a pastor, so he could have changed it because he had his own church. See how that works? But he wasn't listening to wise counsel. All right, so bonus tools and habits. Number 8, use the golden pause. Use the golden pause. Before replying, take 1 second to breathe. And you all have seen me do that. Take 1 second to breathe because it signals respect and it gives you space to respond wisely. It allows you to access the inhibition control and the executive function of your brain to not do something or say something that you're going to regret later. So use the golden pause. All right. Number 9, set aside time for real conversations. Real conversations. Set aside time for that, to have that. I believe that we do that every morning and we can engage. And then when you're in your 30-day challenges, you have more of an opportunity to technically have a conversation with me as well. So listening takes time. If you're in a rush, reschedule the talk so you can give it your full attention. And I mentioned that earlier. And then number 10, finally, is this. Reflect afterward. So when the conversation is over, when the meeting is over, whatever is taking place, ask yourself these questions. Did I interrupt? Did I really understand what they were saying? Which is why you ask the clarifying questions. And then finally, what could I do better next time? Always be the best means that you are always constantly improving to ensure that you get better and better at the principle of real leadership, communicate effectively, as well as listen. All right, so that's what I have for you for that. If you need me to repeat any of them, let me know. I'm going to give you the 1-minute listening drill so that you'll have that as well. And yes, so here is the 1-minute listening drill. The 1-minute listening drill can be done anytime, any place. So you can do it solo or with a partner. And this drill is used to strengthen focus, presence, and empathy. So you're going to stay present, you're going to stay focused, and you're going to work on your empathy. Now here's the 1-minute drill. So you're going to do this once per day, but you could do it more if you find that you really need to learn how to listen, hence my offspring. Okay, so 60 to 90 seconds. Here's what you're going to do. Step 1, set the timer, an egg timer, a stopwatch, your phone timer. And you're going to set the timer for 60 to 90 seconds. And then you're going to quiet your mind for 5 to 10 seconds. And you're going to take 1 deep breath. And then you're going to think. For the next 60 seconds, your job is only to listen and not judge. You're not going to fix, you're just going to listen. So you set the timer for 60 to 90 seconds. And you prepare to listen. Now, if you're doing this with a partner, the partner is going to speak about anything that they want to talk about, their day, their thoughts, a random topic, and they're going to speak consistently for 60 seconds. And you're just going to listen to them. And then once that's over, you're not going to interrupt them. You're not going to, all you're going to do is nod, say, yep, I get it. And then you're just going to receive what they said. And then you're going to switch roles. So 60 to 90 seconds, deep breath, quiet the mind. The person that you're interacting with is going to talk for 1 minute and you're just going to listen. You're not going to interrupt or anything. You're just going to be present. And then you two are going to switch roles. Now, if you're by yourself, I'm going to get to what happens with the partners. But if you're by yourself, you are going to recall a recent conversation, or you're going to listen to a podcast or a voicemail. So something that's a 1-minute piece of communication. And for 1 minute, you're fully going to focus on the words, the tone, and the emotions or feelings that's happening. And then if you find that your mind is wandering, you're going to bring it back. And no analysis, just observe. So you're going to be talking to another person, y'all going to have 1 minute back and forth, or you're going to listen to something that's 60 seconds. And then step 4 is you're going to reflect for 15 seconds. And then you're going to ask yourself, did I stay fully present? Did I listen with openness or judgment? And then what got in the way of you listening? Did I stay fully focused and present? Did I listen with openness or with judgment? And what got in the way? And then the bonus is You're going to jot down one sentence about what you noticed. That's it. What did you notice about it? And you can consistently do that day in and day out. Now, consistency beats duration. So, doing this daily builds serious awareness and patience over time. So, keep being consistent. So, doing it every day. If you find that you can't do it but for 15 seconds, when you do it every day, you're creating that listening neural pathway with this listening drill, and it allows you to build up to the 1 minute. So, it's not, damn, I didn't do it for a whole minute. No, how much time did I do it? Today, I did it for 15 seconds. And wow, it's been a week and now I'm at 32 seconds. It's been 2 weeks and now I can do it for a whole minute. Because again, remember that neural pathway needs to be established and then it needs reaffirming every day. So when you use it, you will be able to continue to use it and strengthen it. And when you don't use it, you lose it. So what questions do you have for me today about the 1 minute listening drill, the 10 tips so that you can become a better listener, or the 8 reasons why people don't listen? Kevin said no questions. Virginia said no questions. Dr. Donna said no questions for me. Nola said no questions. Okay, so in summary, the 2 questions that we have every day is, what did you learn today and what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn today and what did you learn about yourself? Good morning, Graham. No questions. Thank you, Graham, for typing your ... Remember that if you are pondering. I tell you what, I will go through some highlighters. That's what I noticed. Big need to make highlighters because I know they would last longer. I know that to be true. And while you all are doing that, I'm going to reveal the results of the poll question. I neglected to do that yesterday. Be honest, are you a great listener? 62% said yes, 37% said no. What is that? I have no idea what that is. Y'all can't see that. Okay. Who knows? All right, Kevin. Today, the fact that ego plays a part as to why people have difficulty listening is shocking. Don't be shocked. Are you shocked? That's a TikTok sound. Yes, it is. Ego is a part of a lot of things. It is edging great out. It really does. It takes the goodness out of everything. All right. Nola, I learned about myself. I have to improve my listening. My mental illnesses have me not listening for multiple reasons. I was a no. I think you have to come back to that. Okay. Graham came in late, but I realized that the pause I do is a good thing when responding. And I'm going to do the minute challenge with my kids to help our communication. Yes, that is awesome. And I'm actually, because of this, I'm actually doing a 30-day listening challenge now as a result of this, because I thought to myself, what do I have that's 60 seconds that allows people to actually listen to something independent of anybody else and follow up and follow through? Oh, you were a no for the poll question. Got it. And that's an honest answer. And so I'm going to have the 30-day listening challenge, so you can do the listening drill yourself to get better at it, to start to create that new neural pathway. Regina, as a listener, it is sometimes difficult to stay focused on what the other is saying because of my own thoughts. And that is part two, because as the older you get, again, the brain deteriorates. And now, how do you say something about what they're saying if they move from topic to topic? Because Nola has brought to my attention that she will interrupt me because I am a topic jumper. I finish saying what I'm saying, and then the brain wants to get more and more out. So some of the things that we've implemented is she will raise her hand and say, I need to say something now. I will write things down so I don't forget, text myself so that we can still have the conversation. Nola, I learned that you need to confirm to people you are listening to them when they are talking to you. Yes. Lola said, I was a no. Thanks for the knowledge. My pleasure. And it is a problem. Listening is a problem. It's not something that we've reaffirmed. And I believe that high school needs to be redone in the American school system. I haven't attended in a different school system, but high school needs to prepare you for adult life. These other classes that don't do anything. There needs to be a class on banking, like a whole semester of just financial literacy, a whole semester, not, and maybe even a year of it, but it's not there. And so these things that we somehow, as I've mentioned, that's why we need the 74 principles of real leadership, because when did we learn to adult? And don't say watch your parents, because if I watch mine, I would be sitting here with y'all right now. So that's not the case. We actually need to revamp it so that you can actually contribute to the world and reduce the amount of conflict and everything else. So we just end up bumping into other wounded people trying to figure things out. Kevin, you said, I pride myself on being a great listener. That's why I often repeat things that people say to me in conversations. That's great. Graham, I find it good to say I hear you when I don't have a response. And then Regina, which video had the discussions about critical race theory and feminism? Oh, no, that was the live that I was on. I agree with you about high school needing to be revamped. So it was a live. I cannot remember. I think it was Embrace Diversity. It was. So if you go to Embrace Diversity, towards the back half of it, someone came on and said that that's what I was talking about. But I wasn't talking about that at all. I don't remember exactly what part of the lecture portion I was in, but this person came in. And then I continued to talk, and the person totally flipped and changed everything that they had said because they were 1,000% incorrect. But it's Embrace Diversity, whichever one that is. It's in the playlist. Okay, so my final thing that I will say is to really focus and understand. And in doing this, be empathetic. And that's hard to do. So be empathetic, especially when you disagree with someone. Because seeking first to understand and then be understood is something that people don't do. And confirmation bias, conformity biases, and all the biases, I find myself sometimes snapping and clicking into the bias. And I'm like, hold up, that's not what's happening here. This is an individual person. So look at the individual person, understand their belief systems and everything else before you decide that you're not listening to them. And then Lola said, because, yes, embrace diversity, Regina. Lola said, because I feel that I have a lot to say, and now I learn that it comes from childhood not being listened to. Exactly, 100%. And so what you need is a willing participant to listen to you. And that's not the case because of negativity bias, how the brain is hardwired. The brain wants everything to be exactly like that. And so if you say something to someone and they don't want to hear it because it goes against their biases, they can't listen to you. And that's why you start asking questions. Because remember, when you ask a question, the brain has to answer the question. And when that person answers the question, there's a release of serotonin, which makes them want to answer more questions, which is why people, especially celebrities, love being interviewed to talk about themselves, because they have this amazing euphoric serotonin experience every time you ask them questions. That's why a lot of them like being interviewed, because of how they feel when it's all said and done. But they can have that exchange without the lights and the mics and all of those other things. So listening is part of communicate effectively. You are not an effective communicator if you don't listen and you don't ask questions. Those two are, and handle conflict when it occurs, are the three that go under communicate effectively. And sometimes technical competence is in there too, because if you need to tell somebody how to do something and you're technically incompetent, no one's going to listen to you. As well as treat people with dignity and respect, embrace diversity. So that's actually 6. So all of those go under the communicate effectively. So that's 7 neural pathways that you're using in order for you to be able to effectively navigate through your day, through your relationships, time in and time out. Yes. Thank you, Kevin, for having my back. So Regina, Kevin said it was 5/17/2025. And it's in the 74 Principles of Real Leadership playlist as well. So either way, and if you search Embrace Diversity, Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers in the YouTube, it will pop up as well. And so, yes, to go back to what Graham and Lola are saying, it's hard to build. I didn't have a voice in my household when I was growing up as well. Like I said, I was all the way a commissioned officer in the Army, getting pulled to the side. Hey, LT, come on over here. You got some issues. You got some shit you need to work out. Then even Jerry Lynn Hellowitzky had to tell me as late as 2005, here is what's taking place. And again, and not into my defense, but I was in a shit show of an existence. It was the worst distribution center in the doggone region, the biggest distribution center with the most routes, and I had just fired 4 people for all kind of disciplinary problems. So I was a little bit busy, but she still was correct that even in that moment, I still needed to listen to the people who remained. And so that's why it became a principle of real leadership. In fact, I put the story in the book because it was that important that I needed to say, this is the person who made this one of the 74 principles of real leadership. Okay, so we are finished with N. Tomorrow, we will be starting Knowledgeable. I believe that we have 9 left, if I counted correctly, with Wired Wednesday. That puts us at about next Saturday time frame, unless something comes down and I have to do it. But within the next 2 weeks, we will be finished completely reviewing all of the 74 principles of real leadership. They will be there. I'm glad about that because the explanations will be there. And see, because Regina was not on that live, it's there and she can go back and get it. And that's one of the reasons why. So it's not necessarily, ooh, I need a bunch of people on my live this morning. It's no, this is now here for you to go back to and you to get that information when you need it. Especially if someone needs a more detailed explanation of it, they can now go to the lives and it's sitting there in the reference part of my YouTube library, resource library. Okay, thank you so much for today. Go off and be a better listener. Again, like I said, within this week, I will now have the listening 30-day challenge for people so that if you find yourself needing to do it, I just discovered a way that it can actually be done. Nola will be the first person through it because, as she mentioned, she needs to learn how to be an effective listener. All right. Graham says, you guys are amazing, and I'm thankful I was leading to this. Thank you, Dr. Donna. You have made such a positive impact on my life. Well, thank you very much, Graham. That is the mission. And so that you can go off and make a impact on those that, I mean, Kevin, you looking for a goal. You know what, Kevin? You get a gold star. You get a real leader swag for today. So, Regina, it is 38 minutes into the live. Thank you for doing that for me, Kevin. I appreciate that. You saved me time this morning because I was going to go scroll through after and send it. But you have made it so that I could just go and shave my head. Yes, go, Kevin. And I had to wait 2 weeks because I had 2 ingrown hairs. So I'm going to get this done today because I'm looking a little scraggly up underneath this wig. I don't like the way it looks. I look disheveled and unkempt. Okay, well, thank you so much. Teamwork makes the dream work, and this is what actually happens when you actually have, okay, I'd like to say the final thing. Thank you, God, for that. So here's the final thing that I would like to say. I would like to say that when we were designed to go out into the world with our unique talents and gifts, get that information, and bring it back to our tribe, our cave. So initially, man was designed, don't go over there. There's a saber-tooth tiger over there. There's a Tyrannosaurus Rex over there, a couple snakes over there. Let's do this. Or this is, if you come across a snake, this is what you do. You come across Tyrannosaurus Rex, this is what you do. That is what was supposed to take place. And I was thinking about my immediate family again and why, obviously, I have no contact whatsoever. But as 4 people, we were supposed to go out, needed to go out in the world, gather information, come back daily, and process that information and give that information to each other so we could all use it to go back out into the world and produce greatness. That's how organizations need to be designed, religious organizations, families, everybody. Because it's, oh, look at this information. So here is a perfect example. Nola is going to be in the challenge. Now I have another challenge. Regina missed the live. Kevin has found out the information. Now we know that Lola and Graham literally had this experience in life where they couldn't talk and now they have a voice. So that traumatic event is now being opened up and now they know that they can go and have conversations. This is what Maslow meant to have a community. This is what he was talking about so that you can elevate to the other levels in the hierarchy of needs and you can create self-awareness. So safe spaces for you to grow and develop and become your best. That's what the purpose is. So we can go off and have cures for cancer and everything else is inside of the people that are here on earth, but that can't happen because we got to learn how to use our brains. And every time you take time out to learn how to use your brain and you go and have a conversation and interaction with somebody else, you are paying it forward so that we are all planting trees for which shade we will never sit. That's what anybody's higher power universe, even if you're agnostic, you still want to have, or atheist, you still want to have a human experience day in and day out. But we all have to create the new neural pathways for that to happen. We have to eradicate negativity, bias, and unaccountable people's ability to not want to hold themselves personally accountable. We want to eradicate them, but it is the mindset. And because we all have brains, we actually can have this experience in our own communities and not just here. So thank you for your time every single day, because you do have a choice. Every day you help me with my research because I'm pragmatic according to ChatGPT. So that means my research is being done in a practical way. It's not theoretical. It's actually being implemented. And to my knowledge, I don't know of anybody else who is actually using real world, real time events to actually do their human experiences with other people without it being in a controlled environment. If you know of somebody, let me know. I'd love to see how it's going for them as well. I can always learn from anybody, but to my knowledge, it's happening out of sight, out of mind. Thank you very much for your time today for yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back and give yourself a thumbs up, and let's go and become more effective listeners. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a magnificent Monday. Adios.